So I just wanted to make a quick update video about these cheap EF-M to EF lens adapters. I have the Canon M5 and I was lucky that my kit came with the Canon adapter, which works perfectly, but is very, very expensive. I bought the Kooka and Meike branded adapters to try, and then ended up with an Andoer one as well. So I just wanted to compare the three really. The Kooka does not work properly. There's a play on the lens side. If I stick a lens on, so this wobbles, and it sadly wobbles enough that when you try and use the autofocus, if you look at this top left corner, you'll see when it wobbles one way, yeah, there you go, MF, it comes up manual focus, there you go. So the contacts, because there's so much play in the lens, the contacts don't quite touch, so that has to be down marked for that. So I would avoid the Kooka one. The Meike branded version works fine. It is a plastic bodied, but the contacts work fine. If I just pop the 50mm lens on again, there's a small amount of play on the lens side, but not enough to cause any difficulty for the focus. So if I just show that, however I wobble that lens, the autofocus works perfectly. So there's no issue with that at all. So that's perfectly fine to use. The only thing that annoys me a little bit about the Meike adapter is where the dots are positioned. On the Canon adapter, the registration dots, I'd call them, on the camera side are right at the tip of the barrel, so when you put it on the camera you just line those dots up and you're in. On the Meike adapter it's further back, so I've got a little bit of white nail polish and just marked it up for there. Similarly, the EF-EOS register on the Canon adapter, the EF-EOS and the EF points are marked, they're both on the face and on the side, which is really easy to use. On the Meike adapter, for some reason, the EF point is on the side, not on the face, and the EF point is on the face, not on the side. So I've just I've done that again with nail polish, just so I can see when I'm quickly putting a lens on. That's an EF lens and an EF-EOS lens. You just do that way. But I mean, it works fine. It's a very minor niggle. The other thing on the Meike adapter, the tripod mount is actually part of the moulding, which if you wanted to have it is good, because it means it's always there and it's much lower profile. The Kooka adapter is a screw-on tripod mount, which then sticks out a long way, but you can remove it if you don't want it. I have to say though, I can't really see the point of these tripod mounts. If you're using a lens that's big enough to need a tripod mounting, it will have one on the lens itself. And if for the sort of lenses that don't have a tripod mounting, you don't need one anyway. So I don't really understand what they're for. So yeah, so the Meike adapter works fine and has this plastic moulding. The Andoer adapter, which is the last one I got, doesn't come with end caps, which is a slight niggle. But other than that, it ticks all my boxes. So it's got a metal body, same as the Canon type. It's got the registration marks exactly the same as the Canon, so it's got the EF-EOS and the EF points on the face and on the side, and the EF-M point is there. It works perfectly. There's a very slight amount of play on the lens side. Again, I don't really understand why they all seem to have this, but it works perfectly. There's no issue with the autofocus. However I wobble a lens, I don't have an issue with autofocus working, so it's definitely fine. So yeah, not having the end caps is a very slight niggle, but it's not the end of the world. I'm sure you can get them easily enough. So if I was to rate these in order, oh, and also the Andoer has a completely removable tripod mount, so if you wanted it, it's there. It does stick out a long way, but if you don't, I can't imagine any reason for having it, so it doesn't matter to me because you just remove it. But just to show you how far it sticks out below the camera, you couldn't actually use the normal tripod mount on the camera with that on, which I guess is the point, but it means you can't even put it down on a flat surface because it would it doesn't sit nicely. So yeah, it's not an issue for me really, because I can't really see the point of that tripod mount, but if you do want one, then at least this one's removable. So yeah, so for me the Canon one is definitely the nicest, but the price is ridiculous. The Andoer one I prefer. The registration marks are neat and it's got a metal body and it works fine. The Meike has got a slightly nicer finish on the machined faces, and it's got this sort of moulded in tripod screw. So these really are pretty close together, but personally I prefer the Andoer branded, because it just is neater and is basically an exact replica of the Canon one. So that will be my first choice. You can easily pick up these end caps. This is the front is obviously just an EF end cap, and the back is an EF-M lens cap. So I'm sure you can get them for 99p. The Andoer one came in an unbranded box, and the instructions had no branding on them at all. So I suspect this is sold under different names, because none of this, there's no mention of the branding anywhere on the instructions or the box, whereas the Meike and the Kooka both come in branded boxes. So I suspect that there's a few other names used for this version. But it's easy to spot if you're looking for one, because it has got the registration marks on the face and the side, and it's got a metal body and a plastic inside, which is exactly the same as the Canon. Anyway, hope that's useful information.